Did the Ukrainians assassinate a leading Russian missile scientist? And just why could this actually have been done by Russia? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's talk about it. Okay, so this is a really interesting story. A top cruise missile scientist was recently killed in Moscow. This is a manager from a Russian company that develops some missiles, particularly, his name is Mikhail Shatsky, a designer with the Mars Design Bureau, particularly its head of software development. And this company and his firm manufactures the onboard guidance systems for Russian missiles. This includes, of course, some of the missiles used to strike Ukrainian civilian targets, like the Kh-59, Kh-69, and it also includes likely developments in Russian UAV technologies. So what you see here is, again, I think this is just a sign that the Ukrainians really are willing to strike anywhere, right? And of course, this is a source in Kiev security told a Ukrainian news outlet that, quote, everyone in one way or another involved in the development of Russian military-industrial complex and thus supporting Russian aggression against Ukraine is a legitimate target. And this guy was shot dead in the Kuzminsky forest southeast of Moscow, and the shooter managed to escape the scene. So this is interesting. I actually want to see where this took place because, well, it seems kind of a weird spot, right? So we zoom it up here. You can see that the Kuzminsky forest is like way outside of Moscow, but it's, just kind of a little park kind of nestled in the Moscow suburbs. And if you're going to shoot somebody, this is actually probably one of the best places to do it. And the reason is because, well, you're a long way from that gunshot and you're a long way from any cameras. So if your goal is to get somebody in here, shoot them and get them out, well, this is what you would do. But the real question you got to ask yourself is, more importantly, what is this dude doing here? Because, right, there's some trails and stuff, but it's December in Moscow, lads. So I don't think trail running is exactly high on anybody's priorities. And so how exactly did this seem to play out? Well, before we talk about that, I want to mention two things. The first of which is that if you haven't hit that subscribe button, you should. It makes a difference for the channel. It tells the YouTube algorithm that I make good content. It doesn't mean you're going to see, a gazillion videos across your feed. It just helps me out and doesn't cost you anything. And it's the holidays, so you probably need to lock in. Get your Christmas shopping done. Bake a bunch of cookies. Haul your kids from everywhere, every relative's house on planet Earth. And to do that, you got to get some energy. You got to lock in. I'm here to help with StrikeGum. 90 milligrams of caffeine in every piece, 100 milligrams alpha GPC, 0 sugar. So if you are tired of energy drinks, you want to leave them in 2006 where they belong, go to StrikeGum.com, pick some up. You can also get them on Amazon. Just go to Amazon, search StrikeGum. You can't miss us. We're the highest rated energy gum on the platform. Okay, so here's what I thought was pretty interesting, is that the fact is that there's also a possibility that this guy was killed by Russian special services. Now, the Ukrainians, according to one source, are taking credit for it. And why wouldn't you, right? Sort of like the way ISIS would take credit for every bad thing that happened on planet Earth. It's because deception matters too, right? And you want to sometimes project strength and power and create confusion. Because, again, if somebody is killed by a different intelligence service or simply killed in a random murder, it can be good to say, we can reach and touch you anywhere. But I think there's a possibility that he was actually killed by Moscow. The reason I think this is possible, again, if you ask me to place bets, my first bet's going to be on the Ukrainians. But the reason Moscow might want to go after someone like this is because he had a lot of special knowledge. And more importantly, there's been increasing evidence that Russian guidance systems are compromised, right? Most notably in the form of the Shahed and Russia's Shahed clones, the Garan 2s, that the guidance systems in them are pretty fucked, right? The Ukrainians have found a way to spoof them, to make them think they're talking to the real GPS satellites when in fact they're talking to a Ukrainian spoof signal who's meant to simply broadcast a fake location. And when the Shaheds or Garans pick up this fake location, they begin to veer off course. They think they're heading towards their predetermined target, but in fact they're going either out into Ukraine or simply going back towards Belarus or even back into Russia. And this is pretty embarrassing. Now, the drones have a system that's supposed to prevent this kind of jamming, but they are sneaking, not letting the drone know that targets are being changed. It's tricking it to go in the wrong direction. And this is pretty interesting because, again, it's a sign that either somehow the Ukrainians got a hold of some pretty sophisticated guidance stuff. And now one of the guys who's dead is actually designed those guidance systems. Now, there's a couple of reasons, right? He could have become so careless. The Russians could be so paranoid that they said, oh, this dude, he could be working for the Ukrainians. That's how they were able to spoof the Garans or the Shaheds, right? The Russians could have said, listen, we have some evidence that this dude may not be that loyal to us. He may be potentially leaking secrets, so we got to take him out. He may be planning on defecting, right? That could Russia almost has as much of an incentive as anyone to take this guy out. So again, the fact that he was killed in a forest outside of Moscow in the dead of winter says that he was probably brought there, somehow incapacitated, then shot, right? Or possibly simply lured there as part of a different kind of operation, which, again, you've got to ask yourself, how do you lure someone into the woods in the middle of nowhere, right? Well, the answer is he would go there himself if he was working with Ukrainian intelligence or had been lured there by Russian intelligence. Either one is possible, but it's a really, really weird story that I don't think we're ever going to really hear the whole truth on, but I'd be very curious to know how exactly something like this went down. Anyway, guys, that's all I had. Thank you guys so much, particularly James Sterling, Steve Moran, Doug Beck, Alan Knudsen, Bastian Himmeling, Brian Kelly, Dale McCombs, James Ola, Henry Roussier, as well as all of our Lieutenant tier members. I could not do this without you guys. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.